Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Ring the Bell podcast. Man, it's good to be back. What are we, 2 weeks now? Spring training, John?
Um, I want to say next Saturday or next Monday in that range is pitchers and catchers report. I think it's different for each team, but we're about a week away from pitchers and catchers.
Man, and I don't think, I know we've discussed this some. I don't really think this is the offseason we expected. With some big names out there still. I know you've been super vocal. I know in prior episodes, Chris and myself and Dean have kind of all touched on. I believe you have, as well, like touched on the offseason, but I know you've been real vocal, just not happy with what's been going on. With anybody out there left, is there anybody that you can think of? Would you touch any of the big names that are still out there remaining?
No, I don't think I would touch on a single name. Snell wants 6 years. I'm not willing to pay a guy like Snell.
Wasn't it? I thought he said I thought the number was like 9 for 270.
Oh, maybe it was 9. I thought it was something like ridiculous because the Yankees offered him like 4 years, like a 4-year deal, and he said, "Nah, I'm okay." So I mean, I wouldn't even touch him. Bellinger. I don't know. You don't know what player you're going to get with Bellinger, so I wouldn't give him a long-term deal. If he's willing to come for another 1-year deal or a 2-year deal with an opt-out or something along those lines, I'm all for it. But other than that, it's been a more outside of Soto, Otani, and Yamamoto. It's been a boring offseason all around the league. There's really nothing going on, and it's kind of depressing just sitting here after the past we've been spoiled the past 3 or 4 seasons
since six. Well, I really when you look at it, the longest tenured Philly, we discussed this I think last year. At this point is Bryce and Real Muto. So it really, for the last 6 years, I feel like there's been some significant move. It just feels like a big move for the last few years. And I guess it's a tough pill to swallow after last offseason. Like you said, you mentioned, we've just been so good. We've so many moves last year. We make the World Series. You go and you lose in that tough fashion. You go out inside Turner this year, kind of steamrolling through the playoffs. Then you have, you lose to Arizona the way they lost. It was just not good, and especially at home when you're so dominant. I really felt like there was going to be a move this offseason. I really thought they had to, they were still a piece away. I still think we all believe, as much as we believe it's a championship team, I think they could definitely use some starting pitching. But going into spring training, I know we wanted to talk about a little bit coming up. They have, with just under 2 weeks away, their big non-roster invitees, right? So we have Mick Abel, Griff McGarry, Jose Ruiz, Ryan Burr, Tyler McKay, Tyler Phillips, Nick Snyders, all right-handers, right-handed pitchers. We have some 3 catchers: Aramis Garcia, Cody Roberts, William Simoni, if I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, Scott Kingery, and Nick Podcool, and then outfielders Carlos De La Cruz, Matt Crone, and Cal Stevenson. Are there any names on that list that you look at and think, okay, that we expect kind of him to have a season, or any impactful players on that list? Or I know we've talked about who we're kind of looking for, but anybody on that list that you think could have an impact for this season that they'll really be keeping an eye on in the spring training?
McGarry, Abel, and maybe De La Cruz. I know he had a really good spring training last year. He's had a pretty good past 2 seasons in the minor leagues. But other than that, there's really, none of those names jump off the paper. The Phillies farm system outside of probably their top 10, it really isn't anything special. And even the top 10 is not really that good. So it's not like they have anything really worth looking at that point. But impactful, if a pitcher goes down, I see McGarry or Abel coming in that position. That's going to be, I think it might be hard to take them out of the rotation at some point. So it's going to be a situation where is Ranger going to have to go in the pen? Is Sanchez going to have to go in the pen? There's going to be questions to be made if those two get their chances, and I think they will at some point in the season, that they will get the chance to be an impact player on this team.
I 1,000% agree. I think, to me, the first players up, I'm barring injury, I do believe are going to be either Griff or Abel. I think they have to be with the depth that we have. There is a lot of starting pitching depth. So I think early in the season, April, I know there's some, usually they bring up, sometimes they want a 6-man. So I could see either one of them coming up. I'd love to see Ranger in the bullpen. At this point,
There's still 2 spots that they need to fill from last season. I mean, you lost Lorenzen and then you lost Kimbrough. So there's still 2 spots that, I mean, it's up for guys between Brogdon. It could be McGarry, could be the long inning guy. Maybe move Strom into the middle reliever spot. There's a lot of opportunities for somebody to get an opportunity with Bellinati he gets a chance to make a comeback. There's a Marte, he's not guaranteed a spot in that bullpen. So there's still, if McGarry or Abe would show up during the spring training, there's a chance that he'd be looking at roster as a long reliever or something along those lines.
I agree with that. I could see, especially, Griff, because he's a guy, I think, he's a little bit older. He's the oldest of the 3 main pitchers we have. He's not as highly rated as Abel or Painter, but he's definitely a guy that's, been there for a little while. So you could definitely see him come up. I think at some point you need to see what you have in those guys. I really believe, because we all would like to see Wheeler re-signed, but you don't know. And it's very rare. I really feel like it's more now that we're seeing pitchers pitch late, like into their late 30s, early 40s. It's not a big thing. So all of the worry with Wheeler, I think, there is concern. If you're looking at a contract for him with how big it may be, there has to be some concern there. So you would think you'd want to see those 2 guys up, or at least in spring training, get him pitching, with some big league players, behind him and he's dealing to see what they look like.
Yeah. Plus, you don't know what the number is, the years that Wheeler wants, and I don't know exactly who is a free agent next year. It could be a situation with Nola where there's not many great pitchers, and he's like, I'll just test free agency and see how that goes, just like Nola did, and Nola got a bigger number than what he was originally offered. So it could be something like that, where if he doesn't like the number that the Phillies offer him, he could just ride out the season and see what happens in free agency next year.
I agree. It's definitely something I could see him sitting out, even if it's not sitting out, but, sitting till the offseason next year. I don't necessarily think, and I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't get a deal with him this offseason. It's not long left. I really don't think they're not a team that's going to go into spring training. I really think, kind of like Nola, I disagree. I really, when you look back at it, I think, and how quick the Phillies signed him, I'm sure there was something there in the works. And kind of let's see how you do. And he kind of knew. I wouldn't be shocked if that was a Wheeler thing. But I do think, just because, Wheeler's age, and we still listen, I think we all know we need a shutdown third. We all assumed it was going to be Painter. So I do. I still am under the belief where I'm not.
They don't have a third. They don't have a guy. I don't believe in the 3 guys that they have right now.
No, oh no. Well, I believe in Ranger. I've always been a Ranger guy.
Ranger's a good pitcher, but he's not a guy who gets you deep into games, and kills the bullpen all season long. Which I think that's what hurt the Phillies later in the playoffs, where those pitchers' arms were dragging out of the bullpen. They were pitching a lot of innings throughout the year.
Nobody pitches that. Like, how many? I'd have to look, but the numbers are going down. Like, I think of that time of the, Nola being a workhorse nowadays is weird to say, because he's not a workhorse that we're accustomed to. We're from a generation, and even our generation wasn't like you guys years, would throw so much, but just
10 years ago, it was completely different.
It was just when we're coming up, I'm a little bit older than you. So, my guys, they threw you consistently. You had, 200 plus inning guys, where I just don't think that is the day. I wouldn't be shocked if you went to a 6-man rotation eventually and just had a lot of bullpen guys as well. But I think it's even more important, not even for a rotation spot this year. I think you want to showcase Abel and Griff, because I do think, even with Painter being hurt, I'm okay. That's why I'm never Sixto Sanchez,
And even
does anybody remember him?
Where,
no, we got JT for him. I'm sure the hardcores know, like the guys that follow baseball remember, but come on, so that's where I think you got to showcase. I think it's important in spring training, instead of looking at the stars at some of these pieces, I think the Phillies are going to be watching them to see who they can move come midsummer, the deadline. I think that's what's more important. Those two, maybe a guy like De La Cruz who, has a real big spring training, maybe can get some at bats, and maybe you can, add him in some sort of deal because he is still a younger player. I think that's what's going to be more important for the Phillies with those guys than I think actually contributing to a world, because I don't know if they're ready to contribute to a World Series team. Not this year
Especially if a
anyway.
guy like Burns comes available, they want to see these. They're going to want a pitching prospect to return, and I don't know if they want to send and hope that Painter's okay, just like we're hoping Painter's okay. They might want to see. Oh, we see Abel. Oh, he looks pretty good. Maybe I'll take Abel because at least he's ready to go and he's healthy. So that could be a situation too right now where you have to show these guys to the rest of the MLB want come that trade deadline.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think that's the biggest, or at least to me, that's your biggest showcase with this spring training coming up. It's really something we gotta showcase those players, and I think because a lot of talk about the free agency this year, and this team is very star studded. When you really look at it, there's not. I don't think there may be.
They have a very, very good lineup. Maybe
There's
one of the
two
best
teams I
lineups in
think are better than
baseball.
them. And that's I really and it stinks because they're both National League teams. Because to me, it's the Braves and the Dodgers. I think are the only teams on paper when you look at roster for roster that can say they're better than the Phillies. And I even think both of those teams even have holes. Because we've beaten. I discussed this with Chris last week. We've beaten the Braves the last 2 seasons.
I mean, the Braves
Dodger.
Braves outside. I mean, Braves are stuck with 2 pitchers just like us. I think their lineup's slightly a little bit better. Not much. Like
It's
a little bit.
It's a lot better. And their pitching's a lot better. Maybe not a lot better.
Yeah, their bullpens has some holes still.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a great bullpen either, just like the Phillies bullpen's not that great. I mean, they're about even, but the Dodgers are a different story, and I mean, they're just completely so they're a complete powerhouse. I think they have the best rotation in baseball. They might have the best lineup in baseball. Bullpen's not really super great like it's been in the past, but they still have a good bullpen. So they're a team that's scary, but who knows? They're the Dodgers. They don't show up in the playoffs anyway. So
exactly. The one thing I was looking at, you mentioned the one that intrigues me the most is De La Cruz, because if he has, a big time spring training, what can you do with him? Because first base 100% off limits. I feel like DH is probably
he probably can play a little
DH.
first base when Harper's not. When you give Harper a rest day or something like that, or you want to give Schwarber a rest day or something along those lines, or Marsh a rest day or Rojas a rest day, where you can make some of those moves where you put Schwarber out and left for a couple innings or for an inning or a game, and then you put Marsh in center. You can put this guy as the first base or DH or something along those lines. And if Rojas is the big if, the huge if.
Yeah.
If Rojas can't handle it and De La Cruz can play, Marsh is back in center field and De La Cruz could be your left fielder. I mean, that's the if, and I think he's competing for a roster spot, just like Rojas is still competing for roster. There's no guarantee that Rojas is going to be your everyday starting center fielder opening day. If he has a horrible spring training, I doubt I see him in the opening day roster.
He's got hit a little bit.
Yeah,
you can't bat under 100 this spring training after your playoffs.
Yeah, that's why De La Cruz he's going to compete for a roster spot too, and Cave too. Like I think De La Cruz, I'd give him a better opportunity than I would give Cave, even if.
Would you let De La Cruz? Would you put him as a bench bat, or would you rather see him, get the time and just get the at bats in the minors until it maybe a Nick goes down, something happens where Rojas isn't going to be your guy, would you put him on the bench?
I would send him down. I think taking at bats away from a young player where he could sit on the bench for 5 games and not get a single at bat, I think that's not beneficial to him. Especially if you think he has potential, I would send him down in AAA, let him play it out, and then if an injury happens or something along those lines, you call him up or whatever. That's when you call him up and you give him the opportunity to play every day. But then again, if he can't figure out how to hit this in the spring and he looks awful, then I think that's a guy you bring up and you platoon him and Cave out in left field.
I wouldn't like it. I don't want to. Anytime you tell me you're platooning Jake Cave out there in left field,
But that's the problem. That's like why I'm saying, like, what are they
I'm
doing this
giving
offseason? The
if
bench
that's the
is so
case,
the bench
I'm
is horrible.
giving
They
De
have
La
nobody.
Cruz the first. I'm giving him the
Yeah,
shot.
he gets the shot in
You're
the EFL.
getting every day at bats until you I got to
Yeah.
because we did a thing. Letting
Cade right
Rojas
now
ride last year, I think was good.
is your bench bat. He's your outfield bench bat.
That's tough, man.
And that's what stinks. And why I'm like, why aren't they doing anything? There's so many guys out there that they can give a 1-year deal, even if you're paying them $10 million to the bench. There's tons of guys out there, and this team's willing to spend money. It's ridiculous. They're not doing anything. They're doing nothing at this point. When there's still a ton of guys. I think Grichuk's still out there. He'd be a great bench bat. There's plenty of players where it's really concerning. Like, why aren't the Phillies making any moves? They do need. What hurt them last year in the playoffs is they didn't have a bench bat.
No, they haven't for a while at this point.
They
Not
don't
since
have
I feel like
anybody.
since the DH for the National League, it stinks because they added it. And I think that was a major problem with adding the DH is because every team I felt like you had you one bench guy. National League, you're losing. It's taking some time to adjust to that because now you have to reconfigure your whole roster construction to take on the DH, where I think that's, so I don't want to use that as a super excuse. I don't think a lot of teams have great players, but I would have liked to have seen, I think Jock, I know I bashed him, but I think didn't he only get like a $3 million deal? Like there's got to be some of those guys out. And the one I really laugh at, like, why are we giving Kingery another shot?
I don't know. I think it's just a thing where it's just like, I guess he still wants to play. The Phillies still have his rights, I guess. So it's more of like here, come back and maybe you light up in spring training and another team takes a chance on you or something along those lines. I really don't know what it is, why. And what really bothered me last season about it is like you're paying the guy $8 million. You call it on one time to sit the bench for the day. Like,
yeah, that's wild. I'd
like even if he must be really, really bad. Where like there was times in the year last year where he could have went out and played center field, or he could have went out and played left field, or he could have done something, and you let him make $8 million just to play in the minor leagues the whole year.
It's kind of rough. He something went south with him. It had I know a few
Rhys
years
Hoskins
back,
said when he was coming up that was the best hitter he's ever played with was Kingery.
So Mickey Morandini, when we had him on, said, and that's a cool name drop. It's fun to say that. He's said they mess with the swing. He believes they mess with switched the way he swung.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So that's what that a lot of the
that.
Go more for power. I know he had that one big year. I think it was 26 home runs. I think it was, and really dropped, and then he just couldn't hit after that. So it's tough to see. I don't see any of those guys really making it. I think their team is going to be what it is, barring
it's going to be the
injury.
same exact bench, same exact lineup.
I'd be okay with De La Cruz.
As we ended in the playoffs, I don't know if they called De La Cruz up right away, but I would like it. But I think right now as we go into opening day, unless I think the signings might start picking up as spring training starts coming around because there's still a ton of guys still out there.
I just can't believe we're about to hit spring training and you still have Snell and Bellinger out there.
Montgomery's still out there too. There's a ton of people out there. I mean, so it's maybe they see somebody and they've been eyeing them up and they're willing to take a lesser of a deal.
That's where would you be opposed? Because we're going long. Would you be opposed to throwing something smaller with a super high AAV at a Snell or Bellinger, like a 1-2 year deal, just to give it a shot? If they're not signed,
if Bellinger wants
because Bellinger would solve that center field problem.
If he wants a 2-year, $50 million deal with an opt out after this year, by all means,
I would 100% go. For him, I'd probably 2 years opt out after 1 2 year $60 million. Rover around center, and you hope you get what you got last year. You hope he's he's probably not going to be the MVP guy. But even you're getting Gold Glove center field, guaranteed. Rojas,
and he can hit for power.
Bench guy. He's going to give you 20, 30 home runs in the middle of that lineup. The only bad thing is, he is a lefty, isn't he?
Yes, and they desperately need a right hand. They desperately need a right-handed power bat. They missed that last season. They need a right-handed power bat.
That's where Rhys was nice.
I still think if Reese was healthy, they win the World Series.
I think it helps your roster, but I don't know because because then you have Schwarber in left field all year. I
I
don't
don't
know if I
know.
want that.
No, I don't think Harper ever learns to play first base, and I think by playoff time he's playing left field in the playoffs.
Well, so going in, what's your I mentioned my last week. What's your number one? Because to me, I thought like it's going to be the pitchers. What's your number one thing you're looking for? This spring training. Now that we're just a little over a week, week out. What are you watching for the most this offseason? Is it going to be lineup construction, kind of seeing what Stott and Bohm if they're continuing to progress? What's Nola? So what's your number
For
one?
the season or spring training?
Kind of spring training to go into the season. What are you trying? What are you hoping for?
I want to see Rojas. I want to see if he can hit. That's one thing I'm looking forward to because if he can hit and play that Gold Glove caliber center field, they're going to be very, very good defensive in the outfield, which is going to help them
I
tremendously.
would love that.
And then the pitchers, I mean, I want to see what McGarry and Abel have. I really haven't got to watch much of them play. I know McGarry had a little bit of a taste of AAA at the end of last season. It didn't do too great, but there was in Double A they were using different baseballs than they were using in AAA, so it could have been an effect there where the new baseball was messing with his when he's releasing it and all that stuff and different grips and all that thing. That could be just an anomaly. I want to see that stuff, and then hope Stott and Boom are the big, like, they need to have years. They need to take the next step. They need to be all-stars for this team to win a World Series because they got to still have to compete with the Braves, and if those two can't handle them, they're in tough shit, man. They're gonna struggle. They're at the point in their career where they're entering their prime. I mean, I think Stott's 26 and then Boom's 28. This is the time where they need to be all-star level players. They can't be just role players on. I know that's more of a basketball term, but they can't be supporting characters on this team. They need to be the guys. They are your young core.
Yeah, I think to me that's my Bohm was my guy last year. He was my guy I thought would produce and come up big. We'll dive into who, once we get into season previews later in spring training. I'm sure we'll talk about that more. But I think, I really believe.
And Sanchez. I'm eager to see how Sanchez progresses and see if he can, because he's another guy. If he can be a 6-inning pitcher and contribute the way he did last year with getting 6 innings, that's going to be a huge difference, especially when you traded Curtis Mead, who's a top 50 prospect. Thank you, my man. But they traded Curtis Mead as a top 50 prospect currently, so you need to get something out of this guy.
Yeah. I like him a lot. He's a guy. He needs to be the 4th or 5th. I really have high expectations for him this year. But to me, the right-handed power bat I think is what we need. To me, it's time that Bohm has to, he was billed as the professional hitter. It's time for him to, he's got to protect.
He needs to be over 300.
He's got to protect Harper at this point. And it showed it last year in the World, or not. Well, was of course it was in the World Series, the championship series against Arizona, but he showed that he just wasn't prepared for that moment. So to me, that's the next big step for me. I think Bohm has to mature enough, hitting wise. So I'm excited to see what he does in the spring training. I really think he has to, for us to win a World Series, he has to be the second best player. Yes. On that offense, and to me, even more so than Turner. I think it has to be Harper than him.
I can deal with him being the third best offensive player.
That's the worst. That's the worst. I think it can go. He can't be. If it is, he's got to be after Turner because he has to produce this season. He's got to be the guy they thought he was. Which is
he's going to be their 4-0 hitter. That's the thing. Like he needs to.
Yeah.
If you're not going to hit 30 home runs, at least you got to hit 320.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I 1,000% agree. He's got to be that guy. And I'm okay, if he's not hitting 30 home runs, if you're hitting over, you give me 310, 320, which, when you hear a lot of the people that have watched him come throughout his career, people that know a lot more about baseball than I do, they talk and rave about this kid's hitting, and they all expect him to be
I
a
mean, Charlie
300
Manuel,
hitter.
that's all you heard when he
Yeah.
was in the minor leagues, how much he loved him. He was going to be a star one day. He's going to win a batting title. All these great things that we just haven't seen it. He's been a good hitter, but he hasn't been the hitter that they were saying he was going to be.
So, I'll just a little couple more topics before we get out of here. The one thing I like the most, I think you sent this one over. This upcoming season, a couple of milestones. And I want your opinion. Which one you're kind of looking for the most? The current ones we have coming up, Bryce Harper, 3 runs away from 1,000, 41 walks away from 1,000. Schwarber, 4 home runs away from 250. Nola, 10 wins away from 100. Wheeler, 13 wins away from 100. 99 strikeouts away from 1,500. Looking at those current milestones, which one are you looking forward to the most?
The 2 pitching ones, Nola and Wheeler wins. I mean, if they have 10 plus wins for was it 9 for Nola, right?
Nola's 10, Wheeler's 13.
13. If Wheeler wins 13 games, that means the Phillies are winning games. If Nola's winning 10 games, that means the Phillies are winning. Or 10 games, right? 10 games. Yeah, they're winning those. If they're getting that means they're winning games and they're pitching well, which that's what we want.
I'm excited for that Nola one. Just because he's our guy.
I mean, he is. He's the longest tenured Philly. The Phillies drafted him. They brought him up. I mean, he's been here. 2016 he made his debut, I believe it was.
I'm not 100% on that.
Might have been 15, but either way, he's been here for almost 10 years. He's been here. He's been through it all. So he deserves it. He works hard and everything. He's not my favorite pitcher, but
2015, 6-2.
So that'll be a great one for him too. I mean, Harper. He'll probably have 1,500 RBIs at some point in his career. It's not like,
Dude only averages 10 wins a year, so it's kind of tough. Basically, since 2016, which was his first full season, really.
But how many of those years were when the Phillies were bad and he was pitching great and he was never getting the winner, that they were blowing his leads?
Doc Holliday had a lot of wins with Toronto. They terrible.
Yeah, but that's
Steve Colton had 30 wins on a 50-win team, so I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that one. But I think even the Bryce Harper ones are exciting. Because as much as he's not a Phillies guy, as much as I still have hatred for the guy just because he came up in National and all that stuff.
He's a different guy.
He's our dude. He's
a completely different person.
He's our guy.
than he was when he was in National.
I hate him a little bit still. I still hate him a little bit for it.
He still has that passion that he had in the Nationals, but he's not the dickhead that he was like when he was with the Nationals. He was a prick. He was a young prick who was given everything when he was young. He's like, I can, he kind of just had that attitude, like where I was like, I'm the guy, like, and then I guess he got married, had kids, it kind of changed who he was in the city too. And he saw the passion these fans had and everything. So he's a different person than he was then. So it's great to see him get that. I mean, he's going to have so many more milestones.
I'm excited to watch the rest of his career because he's going to put up,
he's
barring
500. He's probably going to have 500 home runs. I mean, he's going to 1,500 RBIs. I don't know about 1,000 RBI. I mean, 2,000 RBIs because he still has what? I don't know if he's going to average 100 RBIs for the next 10 years, but that'd be great if he did. But there's 2,000 hits is another one that he's going to get. There's so much.
Yeah, he may not. He's only got 900. He's just about 900 RBI. So he probably doesn't hit the 2,000, but 306 home runs, definitely could see him hitting.
What is it? 113, I think, something like that. Is that what's the number for his RBIs?
He's only got 889.
889.
Yeah, so he's 111 away from.
I mean, if he has 111 RBIs, that means he's having.
He could hit 1,000 RBIs this season. Yeah, 100% hit 1,000 RBIs.
That's a hell of a season too. So if he's doing that, that means he
could really hit 350. So he could hit 350 home run this year. He could hit 1,000 RBIs. He's going to get 1,000 runs and he's going to get 1,000 walks. Those are some huge milestone.
And if those milestones happen, that means the Phillies are having really good years. So that's something to look forward to.
How can we hate? That's just me. How can we hate a guy who didn't have a choice to play for Philly? That's just my personal. My exploits of booing Bryce Harper, his first game in Philly, have been well documented on this show. My booing of.
Were we the only person in the stadium who was booing him?
I was. I sat down when they announced him and I booed him because it's Bryce Harper. And as much as I loved him,
I didn't like him when he was a national
I hated
at
him.
all.
I had to do it. And I get the Phillies didn't have a chance because they never get the number one pick. And when we do, we take guys that don't want to play for us, and it just
We
I
did have the number
digress.
one pick.
We took Mickey Moniak the year. Yeah, we had it.
That first round was bad though. I don't think there's a single one of those guys who's really having a career in that first round. I think what Senzel went like second or third. I think.
Yeah, that I looked at the draft class. I look at that one every year.
I think Will Smith's the best player in that first round.
Yeah, I look at that draft class like once a month just because I'm like, if we had the year before, when you look at the guys who went before and after, it's like, come on. But closing out the show, I think the biggest news of the week were the leaked City Connect uniforms. Closing out, what were your final thoughts on those uniforms? You gonna be rushing to the store to go buy one of them?
I probably won't ever own one. It's shocker that Nike's come out with
them. They're so terrible.
Blue? Nike has came out with another terrible City Connect. I mean, look around the league; they're all horrible. There's not many that you can think, wow, these are great. I mean, there's a few like the White Sox is nice. There's not really many. It's just like they wanted to. I get what they're trying to do. They wanted to like represent the city, and that they're using the blues because of the blues and the yellows because of the flag, Philadelphia flag. But it's just like
makes sense.
Can people give us what we want? Like, I'm pretty sure majority of the people, like, they might not have thought about it, but we would have loved a maroon uniform. That would have been a
I want the old school burgundy uniform back. Like, I don't need these new uniforms.
It's a money grab, but the money grab's horrible. They're just
There's going to be some clowns that buy them.
I
will not be one of them.
I was thinking about this on my drive today, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, what are they going to do with the Yankees when their City Connect comes up?
It's going to be a Yankees uniform with a name on the back, actually.
Is it?
No, I doubt it. But you can't. The Yankees they can't have a Yankee one. You can't have a Red Sox. Like even the Red Sox when they go the blue with the blue and yellow. Come on, I hate it.
The Boston Marathon, that they do to
represent.
Like, but what are you like? It's just like they're so bad. I mean, the Padres one looks like a 12-year-old's MLB The Show Diamond Dynasty uniform. I mean, it's like. They're just so bad. The Giants is like that weird yellow. Orange. Like that's just a weird. Who knows? I mean, they're just. It's a big letdown. My one buddy said like, "Oh my God, they're gonna sell out immediately." I'm like, dude, like these are ugly. I don't think they're gonna sell out immediately. On the powder blues and the home uniform, they're gonna sell. And the creams, they're gonna do circles around this uniform, but.
Unless you're a jersey collector, to me, this is not a jersey that I expect to see a lot at the stadium this year.
No, and it's the blue. Like you don't think about it. We're thinking about wearing red when you go to the Philly Stadium, not blue. So it's just, I don't know. It's just different.
I agree. And listen, they're terrible. They need to do something.
The lettering
it doesn't even
weird.
Look good.
I don't know who said it, but I was reading the comments underneath of it on Twitter and everything. Somebody said, "Oh, it looks like a slow pitch softball jersey."
I can 100%.
That's what it looks like.
That. Yes, I can buy that.
The lettering, the lettering and everything's just weird. It's nothing we can do. It's just something we gotta watch. However many times they wear it a year.
Agreed. Yeah,
and they got rid of the Reds. I mean, the Reds aren't great, but they're better than this jersey.
But it's just been a slow off season. It's tough when you have to talk about.
It's very boring.
Jerseys.
There's nothing. It's very, very boring. It's a very boring off season. I'm hoping things.
Listen, we got 2 weeks left. I just looked. I think Valentine's Day. So exactly 2 weeks from tomorrow is when they go in. That's when
everybody.
Pitchers and catchers report 14th. The full squad reports the 19th. And
for some reason, I thought it was the 9th. I don't know why I thought it was the 9th.
National City Connect were nice. Were they the ones with the flowers on it?
Yeah, right? The cherry blossoms.
Aren't they retiring them? I thought they're all ridiculous. Like I stop with the jersey. To me, all the new jerseys.
That's a hot take by
money
the
grab.
Ring the Bell. The Ring the Bell podcast.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that's our fearless leader. That's over here that saying that. Because I would never I'm bashing Bryce Harper because he was a national. I'm definitely not going to like their jerseys.
Miami's is the red, right? That's not a bad one.
I don't like any of them. I don't like any jersey but the Phillies uniform.
All right.
because I hate everyone else. But that's not here nor there, But listen, we got 2 weeks, baby. 2 weeks till. So as
So
bad
there's
as
something to
something
talk
real to
about.
talk about, you ain't gonna be talking about jerseys.
Hopefully, in the next week we get something good to talk about. I mean,
I'm sure over the next week or two, I really, it's those guys. I think most of those I can't see.
people are going to start signing.
Yeah,
I mean, Bryce Harper didn't sign until February, I believe, right?
he was late. He was late because I remember I was debating
He might have
whether
been
or
late
not.
February.
I think it was. I wasn't.
And Machado was in February too. So I mean, there's going to be.
I thought
Machado was first. Machado was
first because I remember I was actually wanting him more, but didn't he sign? Wasn't it in the March when he signed with the Phillies?
He might have.
What was the? I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was finally
because they did
March 1st. Yeah, March 1st. The Phillies tweeted. So
yes, because remember they
March.
did the press conference on the field. And he said he's going to bring the World Series to Washington.
He's a different guy than these guys, but I do think over the next 2 weeks they sign. He's not. None of these guys are the player he is.
I would give Bellinger and Cobb, be like, here's 2 years, $50 million. You get an opt out if you have another great year. If he has another year like he did last year, he's getting a long term deal like that.
Yeah, I just don't trust him enough yet to give him anything. But listen. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll be back again next week. I know.
And then you can package Rojas and then trade deal now too. You don't have to rely on him anymore if you get.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, I want to see Rojas be the guy though.
To me, it's
tough. If I don't want to get rid of Rojas, even if Bellinger's on a 2-year deal, because I want send him down, let him play a little bit more. Don't get rid of him. That would be my thought. Because I don't want to sign Bellinger for 6-7 years. I'm okay. 2-year, $30 million. Let's put Rojas down, give him the opt-out, club, mutual, whatever you want to do. Hopefully he leaves and takes a longer-term deal.
No, they're not going to. He won't agree to a mutual opt-out.
He'll probably want his own, yeah. But, that way you still have your protection, down in the minors to play center field. You have somebody there just in case. But I'm sure shows coming up will be better than have more content. I can't wait. We got 2 weeks, baby.
There's really not much to talk about at this point.
Hopefully there isn't. I wanted to get on here because today, I'm probably going to be missing the next few weeks. I know I'm sure this is for Anthony if you're still watching. We're shaving heads. We got some surgery coming up. We're bald. So I'm going to be off the next few weeks. But you will see Neck Brace Jason will make an appearance coming up. But we just want to, Chris and I and all the guys, John, Dean, I want to just thank everybody that's continuing to watch and follow and support. We are truly blown away by everything. And just we really appreciate it, each and every one of you guys that check in live, comment in the section. We can't thank you all enough. We appreciate it because without anybody really listening, there wouldn't be us talking. And we would still talk. It just wouldn't be on here. So we still talk baseball every day, regardless. But yeah, we just want to thank each and every one of you. Go over SeatGeek, use the code baseball20 to get 20% off, or $20, not 20%. My bad. $20 off your first ticket purchase. And then, I'm sorry. SeatGeek is on the bump. Is the code. It's right there. And then over to baseball20 is the Manscaped for the 20% off of your purchases. And they're great. I still use them. TMI, they're fantastic. I'm not going to give you TMI because we're a family-friendly show, but they're fantastic. So if you have to get them with Valentine's Day coming up, we got opening day or spring training opens up Valentine's Day. Get out there and go purchase your man, your lady, your friend some nice ball razors. I'm not as eloquent as Chris. I'll just call them ball razors. Get over there, go give that a like. But we appreciate each and every one of you. Chris, and I'm sure, a couple of the guys are back next week with another show, another fascinating, riveting show about how amazing our Phillies offseason has been. Till next week, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Love you guys. God bless. See you next week.
Thank you. Have a good one.